Good evening, all. So, as you all know, stemming from my previous videos, I've been talking a lot about these voices and so on, and the battle it is with these voices. And I made a previous video about um, trying to get over the voices, right? Trying to get over the voices, because a lot of time these voices are suicidal, right? Um, or they humiliate or they degrade, right? I don't know what their intentions are, but how they go about doing their thing is not right, one, and is degrading, is humiliating, and is simply just not right from any angle, right? So, I don't know how many people have been going through this with his voices in their head, regardless if it's diagnosed as hallucinations or you have had a therapy diagnose you with whether it's hallucination, psychosis, bipolar, whatever it is, right? If you have had that professional reading done or therapist diagnose you with that, or whether this is a spiritual or technological thing, as I discussed in my previous video, whatever the case be, some of these voices, some are good, some are very, very much what driving people to suicide, right? Through whatever means possible. So I actually made some notes here on some things that I have been doing, right? So it could help others who are battling the same situations, right? So at least if that is something that you are going through on a day-to-day basis, right? Some of the little tidbits that was useful or have been useful for me in going through this experience to come out at the other side of the tunnel, and still be wholesome in one piece, right? Because for those who know, right? Um, so as also for people who feel a little bit outcasted by structured religion, and or you don't fit into that mold of structured religion or the education system or the structured workplace system, and having to contend with that in yourself, that hey, especially for somebody like me who actually have gone through a rigid academic process and been successful at it too, at a high level, right? And been successful academically, right, throughout life, and then having to contend with the reality that hey, this is not really me, or I don't feel comfortable, or I don't feel like I fit into this, um, is actually quite a different experience from somebody who didn't grow up in that structured setting and didn't was a school dropout, or like I actually went through that whole system and work, school, everything, and only afterwards started to battle with this reality, right? So some little tidbits on and for anybody who might be going through this at whatever level, right? um Fighting the voices, right? Fighting the voices, because you have to fight it, right? If you don't fight it, it will overtake you, it will consume you, right? So this is a path to building strong willpower, discipline, resilience, and character, right? So the simple things that matters, you can't do everything at once, so is building blocks, right? So very, very simple things, right? Find one simple exercise and do that exercise routine every single day, regardless of what, right? It could be 10 minutes, 5 minutes, 20 minutes, half an hour. Find one simple exercise and do that thing every single day, regardless of what your voice is telling you, regardless of what, right? Um, have about 3 or 4 your favorite songs, right? Whatever it be, it could be religious songs, bhajans, gospel, whatever it is. Um, find 3 or 4 of your favorite songs and play it, well, whenever you feel like, or every day, right? Have a prayer. That prayer could be personal to you, right? Or it could be a prayer outside your religion, or it could be a prayer that you make up, right, to connect with God, right? And find a structure. Well, this is something I'm still struggling to, right? Find a structure, as in a at this point of the day, you develop a habit that, hey, if you do feel always connected to God, right? find a way to develop a habit to structure that. So say that, hey, I'm gonna say this prayer twice a day, 3 times a day, 4 times a day, 5 times a day, whatever it is you feel like, right? So find a one prayer, a simple prayer, and just do that thing every day as a form of remembrance, remembering God, remembering yourself internally, right? Knowing who you are. Find a book, right? So we're talking about a book that is not in your favorite collection of books. If you are a reader, find a book that is not in your favorite collection of books, right? Meaning a book in a genre that you don't like, never see yourself reading, right? Whatever the case be, right? But something different from that which you was conditioned into or you like, because a lot of our likes are conditioned, right? So find a book that is different from that which you are conditioned into or that you like, and just read that book, even if you like it or you don't like it, right? The point is to find something different from you and see it through the end, right? See that, experience that book, right? Immerse yourself into it, right? And take your time with the book and see it through the end, right? So don't hasten the process, because sometimes I know there are readers out there who could, well, I like to speed read. When I used to read a lot of things, I speed read, right? So sometimes, like when I was a child, I finished a book in a day or two, right? So don't speed read, just read a chapter a day, right? Read one chapter a day, process it, think about it, right? Good. Seeing it through the end, meaning that there are points that you would want to not read the book, right? Because it might not be something you like, or you might be battling to complete the book, is a reality, right? Or you might be battling to complete the book, right? This could be a religious text, or it could be any, whatever it is, right? So 5, use your conscience and listen to what the voices are saying without necessarily absorbing it or becoming one with it, right? So use your consciousness. Listen, use your ears. Listen to what they're saying, but don't become one with it, right? Meaning that if you become one with these voices, you will follow and do exactly what they're saying, and a lot of times these things might not be favorable to you or your family members or the wider world at large or whoever, right? So listen to what these voices are saying. Do not become attached to it. Process it. Think about it, right? Is this something that I want to repeat in my mind, right? Are these thoughts or thought patterns something that I want to say over in my mind or say back out aloud, right? And this is one of the hardest parts, right? That is actually the battle, right? Trying to not repeat the thoughts that are, say, sending you to do something like kill yourself or whatever, right? So that is a battle, and that is the actual battle, right? The conscious effort, because that is what takes the effort, right? Trying to not repeat that pattern, right? That is what the effort is. That's where the effort comes from, right? So sometimes you will naturally repeat the voices, because that's just how life works and conditioning works, and we've been conditioned since we were children and so on, right? So naturally it's inherent that some of the voices you will end up repeating, and that's fine. You just make a conscious effort to say, hey, this not emanating from me, right? And that's what knowing yourself becomes important, right? Knowing yourself, so you know that, hey, this thought pattern is not originating from me, right? So knowing yourself, meaning, hey, who were you before these thought patterns were introduced, right? What kind of person you were, right? Before repeating these things that these voices are telling you, were you that person that would tell anybody these things that the voice is telling you, right? were you a person, or were you a person that would encourage people, right, who would set aside time, if somebody have to talk, you hear them out, you listen to them, right? What kind of person were you before these things happen, trying to get you to repeat these thoughts and become one with it, right? So 6, shower at least twice daily. Well, yeah, twice daily is what I believe a normal human being does, right? So shower twice daily at least. Sometimes this might be the hardest task to do. You just have to find a way to do it, right? Eat something, because people who are battling with these things, depression, suicide voices, whatever, you're going to a state where you don't even want to eat, right? Or you become gluttonous, right? So it's about finding moderation, finding balance in the situation, right? Moderate yourself, and once you do all these things prior to what I mentioned, you will eventually it would all lead up and come together, right? So once you find your thought pattern following these schema things here, you will inevitably develop that will to battle these voices, right? Don't give up on your heart, right? Your heart space is the most precious thing. Don't give up on your heart space, because a lot of these energies out there, they come towards you with pure hatred, or whatever all the vices are, and whatever you consider vices to be, right? Because we all have certain principles or values or virtues that we hold closely to, and sometimes these energies come towards us and try to dismantle those things, right? And we might be the ones sometimes trying to dismantle those things in others. So just be conscious of where you stand, change where you need to change, and don't give up on your heart's peace, right? So know that there are others battling extremely similar fights to yours, and find some sort of comfort in that reality. Now, it's kind of like selfish in a way to say that you find comfort in other people going through what you're going through, but the knowledge that there's a community of people, actually, like if you do research online and so on, and connecting with people on that level, like, hey, is a means that, like, I'm not the only person in the world going through this, right? And as human beings, that small level of selfishness is part of being human. You're not being selfish on a grand scale to say this, that, whatever, right? But knowing that you could actually just find comfort in somebody else, regardless of if you know them or not, right? Finding comfort in somebody else going through the same experience, or connecting with somebody going through the same experience, even though some of these energies even want to block you from physically contacting people, right? So that's all right. The fact that is that the awareness is that, hey, this thing didn't happen to me alone, right? It's sad, it's unfortunate that it had to happen to others as well, but hey, you in this with another person, you in this with a community of people, and that's just how it is, right? And you just find the will to keep going from there. And that's not any excuse to the people who doing it to continue doing it to others, because at a point where these things will have to stop and disintegrate at the end, right? So rest, right? Find time to rest. So yeah, you have to fight and battle these thoughts, but sometimes just lie down and that's what I say, just play your favorite song, right? Just lie down, whatever it is, bring you that peace, whether it's going out in nature or just taking a lie down on a bed, whatever it is, for however long, right? Just time and patience. So open your windows and doors, especially if you feel claustrophobic, or like myself, you don't like to be too confined, right? So open up your windows, let the sunlight come in. Open the doors, right, in your home, whatever. People have different theories about that, on spirits entering and whoever. But you know yourself, you know yourself, right? If you deal up with these things or you don't deal up with these things, if you believe in these things, you don't believe in these things, right? So I kind of feel confined and claustrophobic in confined areas. So if there's anybody going through that, just open these spaces, right? Right. So develop a mechanism to cut the thoughts or the voices, right? So these voices might be on repeat, as I was explaining before. They repeat, right? So you want to find a way to cut the voices or change the pattern, right? So you do something, as in, if it has an object nearby, just lift up the object, put it back down, right? A cup, a plate, lift it up, put it back down, right? Nobody's saying to mash up the plate and get in a rage and whatever. You're just trying to cut the thought, picking up the object, a spoon, a fork, whatever it is, a fruit. Just find something, lift it up, pick it back up, right? Put it down, pick it up, right? Simple things. You're right. Write out exactly what has happened, or journaling, whatever people call it, right? Or whatever art you do, paint, write, whatever. And you don't want to paint no grand painting, you don't want to write no grand story, right? You just write whatever it is, whatever it is. Write exactly what has happened, just write anything, right? Speaking out verbally. So in my previous video talking about that, I would have been saying to curse out the voices and stuff. So that was how I initially dealt with these things up to even recently. Yeah, they will leave at the end of the day, right? You just deal with them, right? So, but that was that. After that, quell down, because like I said, the point is to get you in an uncontrollable rage, and when you get into that uncontrollable rage, you will, or you might be pushed to do things that you shouldn't do, right? So the idea is to not get you into that rage, right? To the extent that you do things that are, one, immoral, even if you have certain thoughts, the idea is to get you to that place to not develop such an uncontrollable rage that you find yourself acting irrationally or acting out of reason, right? So one simple thing that you could do is to place your tongue to the roof of your mouth, right? And that could help you to cut a thought. So the voice is telling you something, right? Just place your tongue at the top of the roof of your mouth, and that thought cut. So you could try it and see if it works, if that's happening to people, right? Because God forbid, right? God forbid what happened to me happened to anybody else. But I know there are people going through the same thing, right? So these things will come with practice, and be patient with yourself, right? Being patient with yourself to develop that will, because discipline and will and strong character doesn't just appear out of the blue, right? Discipline, will, and strong character, resilience, doesn't appear out of the blue. It is built, right? So learn the art of ignoring these voices, right? At the end of the day, people will be shocked at the evil that you had to overcome, right? The magnitude of evil, whether that evil is in your immediate vicinity or it is remote, right? Or your workplace or your school or home, or coming out from institutions that you don't even know, right? All of these things, all of these entities, organization, whatever it is, whatever evil exists in these entities, right? And if you are targeted individual like myself, right, you will overcome this, right? You will overcome this, right? Go through these mechanisms that I'm explaining, because this is things that I've learned, things that I've practiced, right? So go through these things, build it into your life. It's simple things. It's not difficult things, right? It's simple things. So fight it. Do these things on a daily, right? To fight it, do these things on a daily, right? Not everybody's strength is the same, not everybody's willpower is the same, but trying to build each other's willpower so we could battle these forces, right? Attain goodness, or God. Meaning that when you have developed the ability to battle this level of evil, right, you naturally become closer to goodness, closer to God Himself, right? When you develop the ability to battle these voices, you become closer to goodness and closer to God Himself, right? As in the supreme entity, meaning the good side of the fight, right? You fight these forces and you become closer to that which is inherently good, right? So I will leave you all with those points, and we will chat possibly in another video.